Have you ever consulted an astrologer and in exchange of the consultation received a personalized PDF which is perhaps handcrafted or handwritten? Because these days a lot of websites generate a PDF on recommendations on a particular horoscope which are largely AI generated. So it is very interesting to see one of the cases which one of the subscribers of the channel shared was the document which is created actually by hand. So what the advantage of having a written document from the astrologer itself is that you can use it as a reference in the future, and you can share it with other people who have an interest in the subject, and it becomes a great subject of discussion. So first of all, let's just have a look at the document ahead. It's a few pages, and the idea is, you all already know that I'm predominantly a trader, and that is how most of y'all. That's the reason why most of y'all are on this channel. So logically, the questions that I tend to get are from individuals who are also traders, and their number one question is regarding success in trading as a career. And consequently, this is also one of those cases where, of course, the individual has asked other questions as well. But I'll just try to, you know, focus. I'll just try to learn something from this chart and learn something from what he has been given as a document from his astrologer, and share those learnings with you, how I'm thinking through that particular process, just so that perhaps we all can understand a few things better in the process. Anyways, because the individual has asked about the stock market, he has asked me, and of course he has asked the person he consulted with also about stock market trading. And here we can see that the individual has written that according to Vedic Jyotish, the fifth house is the house for speculation. So, like I mentioned, fifth house is the house for future in general. So, that's why they say children are seen from the fifth house. What it basically means is that anything related to the future is seen from the fifth house. And that aspect of the future, which is bright, what it means is that all the good deeds that you would have done in your past life manifest in themselves in the form of the fifth house. So consequentially, individuals who become like fifth house is third from third. So where the third house is your neighbors, third from third becomes your neighbors' neighbors, which means the third house individual would be very famous locally. A strong fifth house person becomes famous globally. So in overall, the fifth house is very good for being able to solve complex problems, for being able to anticipate problems in the future, to be able to consult other people. It is very auspicious for the children, and it is also responsible for bringing a lot of fame and bringing basically positive emotions such as love in a person's life. So this is what this individual has mentioned, that they are going to look at the fifth house for the stock market, which I agree with. And here he's written that they will be looking at the lord of the fifth house. So just for your reference, this is the chart in front of us. We can clearly see, I'll just full screen this. We can clearly see that this is a Gemini ascendant because 3 is written here. This is the fifth house where 7 is written, which is Libra. And we know that the lord of Libra is Venus, which is placed 4 houses away in the 8th house. So he will see the lord of the fifth house, which is Venus, where it is placed. As we determined, it is placed 4 houses away in the 8th house. The nakshatra. Now, the nakshatra is something that I would never see for this purpose. That's largely because I will only use nakshatra to calculate muhurats. I do not do an assessment of anything else other than muhurat calculation, because nakshatras are one of the 5 limbs of the panchang, and they are used to determine what is auspicious for the person. So I wouldn't use the nakshatra for this purpose, but fair enough. Then he would see the planets which are in the fifth house, which is good. Malefic and benefic aspects upon them, which is also a standard process. Then they will see the relationship with the 11th house. So the 11th house, of course, like I mentioned, it is the Labh Bhav. Labh Bhav means the house of gains. So here the astrologer is looking at the 5th house and the 11th house in order to determine how much the individual will benefit. and he will follow it up with the second house, which is actually the significator of how much money you have in your account to spend. So it is the liquid cash that a person generates. And the reason, so the liquid word will almost always be there, because land and other assets are seen from the fourth house and things like that. So this is representing, the second house is generally representing cash. Now here they are saying that he would check their score in Ashtak Varg. So Ashtak Varg score looks something like this. So when you go to this site and you just go to general, you will just perhaps look here. This is SAV. This SAV is an indicative of Sarvashtak Varg. Now, no matter who the individual is, whether it is you, me, Narendra Modi, anyone, Bill Gates or anyone, it doesn't matter whether you're wealthy, the head of a state, or extremely poor. The total of all of the sum of all these houses, all the 12 houses, will be the same for each of us. And the average, that is basically the total is 28 multiplied by 12, because 28 is the average that you will get from here. So 28 multiplied by 12 should basically be 336, 280 plus 56, I'm guessing. So 336 will be the total that will come to all of us. In the perfect kundi, the score of 28 will manifest in all the 12 houses. That will be the absolute perfect kundi. And why will it be the perfect kundi? It will be the perfect kundi because these 12 houses represent the dharma, arth, kam, moksha. And having the perfect score assigned across them means the individual is allocating or will allocate equal amounts of energy to all of these aspects, that is dharma, arth, kam, moksha. If any particular trikon gets a higher score relative to the other trikon, then that trikon is likely to get most of the individual's attention, and consequently over a period of time is likely to benefit more at the expense of the other trikon. What do I mean by that is that if we look at this table here, the kundli here, we will see that houses 1, 5 and 9 represent your dharam, the dharam trikon. Houses 2, 6 and 10 represent your arth trikon. 3, 7 and 11 represent Kam Trikon, and 4, 8 and 12 represent the Moksha Trikon. So now let us say, for example, if someone has a very strong Dharam Trikon, which means the score of houses 1, 5 and 9 is very, very high, above 28 in all three of them, then such a person will be extremely hardworking and would continuously work. And if the score of the 159 houses is very high, where the person is working very hard, and let's assume that the score of the 4, 8 and 12 houses is very low, it means that the moksha trikon is very weak, which means the person will be hardworking but will not be at peace. Because the 4th house is the house of happiness, 12th house is the house of liberation, and 8th house is the house of deeper study. So it is basically the love for research. Why am I saying? Yeah, I'll come to that later. But it is the love for research is seen from here. Depth of understanding is seen from here. So the person would be hardworking if the house Sarvashtak Varg score of 159 is very high. But if that of 4, 8, 12 is very low, the person will not be at peace, so to speak. But the opposite of it is also true. Let's assume the person's 4, 8 and 12 are extremely high scores, and 1, 5 and 9 are extremely low. Then this person is so much at peace that he will or she will not work only, because the dharam trikon has become of a very low score, and this person will simply not take responsibility or unnecessary duties upon themselves. They will look to delegate, and basically they will be very, very comfortable. But others who are critical of them will call them extremely lazy and aversive to hard work. So in general, I have seen several hundred kundlis. I have never found a perfect score of 28 across every one of them. In fact, the whole assessment is how is that average score of 28 distributed. So for example, if you look at this person, the Arth Trikon has 33, 31 and 31, which is houses 2, 6 and 10 have very high score, which means such a person, whenever a favorable patch hits this person is going to be extremely financially well off. That is what this is saying, the Arth Trikon. And it also means that the money houses get the maximum attention from this person. And the question is, what is at what expense? What is costing this? Obviously, this high score is costing some particular house. So we will see that the score of 19 in the 7th house is indicative that the person could take their relationships lightly. I means how much time should be spent in that relationship. That much time is not getting spent because seventh house is the house of relationships. Similarly, if we look at a score of 21 in the fifth house, then it obviously is an indicative that favorable outcomes from the fifth house become slightly more difficult to achieve. A score of 23 from the eighth house, this means that the ability to create lasting work, long lasting research oriented work becomes difficult. And the 12th house obviously is the house of rest. If that is weak, then the person's mind is continuously disturbed and not at rest. But obviously, with a very strong 2 6 10, the person is likely to make money because the focus is there. And what is the role of the astrologer? The role of the astrologer will be to strike a balance, to suggest those activities which strike a balance in the houses, because we in society have learned to believe that success is exaggeration of something. Let's say if it is work, then you are successful if you have the work of the highest quality. That is, we look down upon laborers, but we look up upon managers and senior managers and C-suite executives. If it is wealth, then maybe you are a billionaire, then you are successful. If you are average, then it's not considered success. Similarly, so if you're talking about relationships, that's the calm. Then the more affluent individual, that is the more well-connected individual, is considered to be successful. And similarly, moksha would mean that you are some sort of a religious head like Shankaracharya, Sadguru, some prophet, or something of that sort. That would be indicative of success there. But the individual who is in isolation in some forest, maybe praying, would be looked upon as unsuccessful. So the point being that striking balance is the key, but we have learned that exaggeration of one of these purusharths, dharma, arth, kam, moksha, is success. So such an individual who has such strong arth trikon would obviously be looking at wealth as the parameter of success. So that is what it means. Sarvashtak work, and I just thought I'll share that. Shadbal strength indicates how powerful the planet is, and I will come to that in a bit. Now here in your case, in D1 chart is the chart that we are looking at. There are obviously divisional charts like these, but that is not what we will be discussing today. So D1 chart, the lord of the 5th house, Venus, is badly placed in the 8th house. No, badly placed in the 8th house, I wouldn't say it is badly placed in the 8th house. Like I wouldn't agree with that to such an extent, because the 5th house lord has gone 4 places away. Now we know that 4 is happiness, 4 represents sukh. So if the 5th lord is 4 houses away, then doing activities of the 5th house will bring you a lot of joy. So being with the children will bring you a lot of joy. Even trading will bring you a lot of happiness. But the 8th house, where it is also the house of sudden ups and downs, and that will be the characteristic of that relationship. So while the person could really be very fond of his or her children, the position of that lord in the 8th house could mean ups and downs on that child. And similarly with the trading career, everything related to the 5th house. So it's not I wouldn't call it a bad location. In fact, I think Venus is fairly well placed here, because it's fairly well placed, I would say, is neutrally placed here. Why? Because we know that 3 is Gemini, and Gemini lord is Mercury, and Mercury is placed 2 houses, basically the 3rd house from Venus, which makes Venus an exceptionally good friend of Mercury in this chart. It is an exceptional enemy of Moon and neutral to Sun. So you can see that Venus is very friendly to the sign lord, enemy to Moon, and neutral to Sun. So overall, this is a neutral to positive position of Venus. I think 5th lord in the 8th house is not all that bad, but that is fine. Then Jupiter is placed in the inimical sign of the 5th house. Now Jupiter here is placed in Libra. Yes, Jupiter considers Venus to be a strong enemy. That is correct. But once again, we can see that Jupiter actually is a benefic planet, and it is neutral with Mercury in this chart. And overall, it is friendly with Mars, extremely friendly with Mars, extremely friendly with Sun, neutral with Mercury, friendly with Saturn. Jupiter overall is behaving quite well in this chart, even though it is in an enemy house. And the house is in a Pap Kartari Yoga. So this is true. This house is in a Pap Kartari Yoga because we can see the presence of malefics adjacent to the house. So the house is in a Pap Kartari Yoga, and that when a house is in a Pap Kartari Yoga, it impacts the longevity of the life associated with the house. So the individual's child at a young age could have health issues, and the individual's abdominal region could face some problems whenever the health would take a downturn. Then I wouldn't get to this Rahu aspecting, etc. This part of it is a little redundant. Now here Mercury is badly placed in the 6th house, so I would tend to agree with that. This Mercury is badly placed in the 6th house because Mercury is in Mars house and Mars is in Venus, Mercury's house. So there is a Rashi Parivartan between the 4th house and the 6th house, and 4th house is the house of happiness and 6th house is the house of problems. So there's a swap of happiness and problems. Every time the person becomes happy, immediately problems come by, and vice versa starts happening to be true. This is not the most auspicious of combinations. Mars and Mercury definitely would be unhappy where they are placed. This is true. And Mercury has a Shadbal of only 0.65. So yes, so now Mercury having a Shadbal of only 0.65 is a slight problem because the ascendant is Mercury itself, and the individual is likely to start a Mercury Mahadasha also. So definitely such an individual should focus on chanting the Mercury Beej mantra for improving overall health. The Mercury Beej mantra must be chanted. Under no circumstances should the individual donate Mercury, because that is the sign lord himself. So the individual should chant Mercury Beej mantra and should chant the Mangal Beej mantra also, because Mars is also definitely not very happy here. Mercury 26 degree, 27 degree is very combust in this chart also. So there could be health related issues based on this particular position of the chart. But now when we are talking about health related issues, we must understand one thing, that the person whom we are discussing about is a doctor. And now if this person is a practicing doctor, it could also be very good for their career, because the 6th house ka responsibility is to give you rog. It is to surround you with diseases. I mean, there are other responsibilities also, rog, rin, shatru, etc. But when we talk specifically about diseases, the 6th house is responsible for surrounding you with diseases. And if the individual is a practicing doctor, that is usually very good for their career. Similarly, 6th house is also responsible for surrounding you with court cases and litigations, which is negative for 98% of this world or 99% of this world, with the exception of those people who are practicing lawyers. People who are practicing lawyers or who are activists or politicians, it is usually quite good for them. So we have to see this in context. So this lord is to give diseases and this person is a doctor. So it is, we have to see it in that context. But of course, because the sign lord is in the 6th house, there could be some health issues also to the person in the Mahadasha of the sign lord, because the sign lord becomes strong. Therefore, the recommendation would be to chant the Buddh Beej mantra and necessarily to chant the Mangal Beej mantra in this particular chart. Rahu, I think they have gone again into divisional charts, and in general I would like to say that Rahu in the ascendant conjunct with moon. So first of all, if moon is in the 1st house, the person generally tends to look very good. I have not seen the person, but usually moon in the 1st house makes the person a good looking, fashion conscious person. But the position of the moon in this particular chart is one of an extreme malefic. So this moon is very poorly placed. First of all, from this position of moon, exception, only Mars is the only planet which is looking at moon as a friend. Let me assure you on that one. Mars is the only planet which considers moon as friend. Rahu, Ketu are looking at moon as enemies. Saturn is looking at moon as a neutral. Jupiter is looking at neutral. Sun is looking at neutral. Mercury, the sign lord, is seeing it as a bitter enemy. And even Venus is seeing it as a bitter enemy. This is a very malefic moon actually. And I think now the recommendations become quite clear from my side. Worship Mars, that is, you have to you could even Mars is basically the sixth lord and the 11th lord, so the individual could even donate Mars, donate blood, if possible. Definitely worship Mercury, chanting Mercury Beej mantra, and donating Moon. So donation of Mars and Moon is quite safe for this particular chart, and chanting Mercury, in my opinion, should be the recommendation that should be given. And I think at that, usually my assessment would entirely stop, but let's just see what this individual has. We are seeing that okay, he's given 21 points to the fifth house in the Ashtak Varg, which we have discussed. According to Vimshotri Dasha, the individual is going to go through Saturn Mahadasha till April 2025. So if Saturn Mahadasha, of course, is ending on April 2025, then Mercury 19-year Mahadasha is going to start. And the Saturn is not so comfortably placed now in affliction due to conjunction with Mars. So I completely agree. The Saturn does not like being next to Mars, but it's not in affliction because of Mars, because we can see that the Saturn actually here is at 26 degrees and Mars is at 4 degrees. They're very, very far away. So this Saturn is actually not uncomfortably placed. In fact, let me just tell you, this Saturn is giving this person a very good Raj Yoga, because we can see Saturn is the lord of the 9th house and the 4th house. So if a Trikon Swami is in the Kendra, that's a Raj Yoga. The only problem is that the ascendant is 10 degrees and the Saturn here is 26 degrees. The distance between the ascendant and Saturn is so much that this is a case of a Saturn not being able to give its full Raj Yoga to this person. So I think that even though this individual has gone through a Saturn Mahadasha, which is actually, in my opinion, the Saturn is as auspicious as it can get. You see, Saturn is extremely friendly to Mercury in this chart. And Saturn is neutral to both Moon and Sun in this chart. Actually, Saturn is the most auspicious planet in this chart. It is extremely friendly to Rahu. It is friendly to Jupiter. It is only a bitter enemy of Mars in this chart. With the exception of that, it is neutral to friendly with all the remainder of the planets. This Saturn is, I think, in my opinion, a Yoga Karak planet for this particular person. The only problem is that this Saturn is not very strong. We want this Saturn to be strong. This person could even consider wearing Saturn gemstones. You will not be able to afford a blue sapphire unless you are head of some 100 crore kind of a company. You would not be able to afford that. So I would suggest really considering buying high quality amethyst or lapis lazuli. Even a very high quality gemstone of that category will be very useful for you. So wearing Saturn, and if you cannot afford that, simply wearing iron ring or iron necklace or something will also be quite useful. So Saturn is actually a Rajyo Karak planet in this particular chart, and it is doing a good job. The only problem is that it is too far away, and this individual should look at strengthening Saturn. Now, investment options for this person. So I obviously disagree with that. Saturn is not comfortably placed. I think it's the best planet in this chart. And here we can see that and this is what this person is saying, that Saturn is favorably placed in the horoscope, and this is correct. The Saturn is favorably placed in the horoscope, and instead of doing iron related work, I mean, it's difficult. I would just simply say wearing iron itself could be quite auspicious for the person. Predictions about your wife and children. Well, yes. Now see, the thing is that you put the person in a spot of bother, because you can see that the individual Sarvashtak Varg has a 19 score on the wife and 21 on the child. So the Sarvashtak Varg is not giving a good score on that. It becomes reasonable that the person will ask for their horoscopes before making any comment. Not being able to take firm decisions. So not being able to take firm decisions is a malefic moon. This is guaranteed. If a person has a very strong moon, the person has exceptional clarity of mind. Once that person decides something, they will do it. If the moon is very weak, the person becomes very fickle-minded and unable to take decisions, because moon just changes position so fast in a chart that today they will be focused on the body, tomorrow they'll be focused on the bank account, day after they'll start focusing on the neighbors. So if the moon is a malefic in the chart, and if it is a strong malefic, like this is a strong malefic moon actually, the person will struggle in decision making. And then the other problem is that Moon and Mercury collectively represent decision making. So Moon is malefic and Mercury is weak, so this impacts decision making. Therefore, donation of Moon and doing Beej mantra jap of Mercury is the remedy for that. um, so here he's given it because you are under the effect of Saturn Mahadasha. I totally deny that. In fact, we need to just strengthen that Saturn in your chart. Saturn is playing a very positive role in your chart actually. Next we will see what he is saying, health prospects. So see, when your sign lord is combust and in the 6th house, it is very difficult for an astrologer to come up and say that you're going to be very healthy. Therefore, in your Mercury Mahadasha, since you are a doctor, I would encourage you to practice medicine very aggressively, because here the Mercury has to give you 6th house results. It has to give you those results. If you do not practice medicine, then medicine will somehow still be a part of your life, and it could be possible that you are consuming those medicines. So really practice medicine. Do not do not take big risks, because this is also a house of litigation. So stay around the people who are sick in order to and help them to the best of your abilities. That would be the most optimal use of Mercury in this particular chart. So he's mentioned combust and in the 6th house, so it is obviously difficult to and yeah, no, you may suffer from one or more. No, see, the thing is this, to write that you may suffer is like very, very strong. Okay? Mercury controls 10,000 things, and things like this are here. Your nervous systems, your lungs, your skin, all of this is here. But to say, and he's given the date 30th April 2025, because Mercury Mahadasha starts from there. So I think this is too strong a statement to make. You may suffer. I don't think so. You may suffer. I think so. You might do very well in your medicine career. You have a Rajyo Karak Saturn, and you have a very strong Jupiter in that 5th house, which has a low score. So I don't see why you will suffer. I just think that, of course you can suffer also, but to write it down on a PDF and give it to someone, I think is very strong. Maybe it is just better to say that take care of your health, focus on your fitness and things like that. No one knows the future like that. So yes, the 6th house lord in the 4th house also is, like we have discussed, that it is Mars. So that's not very, very good. That's not a good Rashi Parivartan to have. Then further he says the 8th house lord is present in the 4th house. Yes, the 8th house lord is present in the 4th house. So the 8th house lord is so here we will see here, this is the 8th house lord, and we will see that it is present in the 4th house. So the 8th house lord is 9 houses away. That's actually that basically means that longevity of life will be enhanced through practicing religion. Because 9 places away is doing mantra jap, and is basically practicing religion. So respecting teachers, practicing religion is a good way of increasing longevity of life, and a good way of creating long work also. So it's quite a long PDF. I didn't expect that. So according to 1st house, your health aspects are covered. I believe that your health aspects are covered, and that no one can predict the future. If you practice medicine, it will be very, very good for you. And yes, the 2nd house, I believe that your 2nd, 6th and 10th houses are very, very strong. You are going to do financially very, very well. You have that capability for sure. You will give a lot of attention to it, like just as we discussed, that donation of donation of Mars and Moon is good for you, and chanting Mercury is good for you, and chanting Mars is also chanting of all these 3 planets and donation of Mars and Moon is good for you. Yes, you will be brave. If the 3rd house is you will be a courageous kind of a person. You can be aggressive sometime, but that is largely got to do with a malefic Moon. The 4th house, which is your luxuries and domestic environment, your 4th house has a very high score. So I don't see that much of a problem in the 4th house. See, what has he written here? Your domestic environment may not be cordial and likely to deteriorate. No, I don't think it is likely to deteriorate. I disagree with that. He's saying that because the lord of the 4th is in the 6th house, and its Mahadasha has started. But you see, whatever was the previous one will be applicable there earlier, because even Saturn was conjunct with the lord of the 6th house in the 4th house. So there will not be much change in that context, is what I feel. I won't use words like this that they will deteriorate. No, you will actively take steps to make sure that you are happy and your house is doing well. I don't think so that's a problem. Fifth house, betting will give you a lot of happiness, that's for sure. Speculation will give you a lot of happiness. You have a lot of financial success. But when the sign lord is in the sixth house, I have already covered it in one chart, that is two places away from the fifth house, so there is potential for income as well. uh, but yes, you have to be practical about some things. If you are not making success in short term trading, then you can just increase your time frame. Now sixth house, yeah, sixth house will have court cases, diseases, enemies, etc. This is true for all of us. The seventh house, okay, so the seventh house of yours has a low score. This is what he has mentioned here. And yeah, and yes, so therefore spend time with your wife, be respectful of her, be kind to her, give her some time in a day, dedicate some time. That is a good way to address any problem with the seventh house. And be kind in your speech, which you could be, if you try, because because you do have the lord of the second house in the first house, so that's the house of speech anyways. um, yeah, so I think that about covers quite a bit of it. The 11th house having 36 points is very good for your overall growth, etc. 18th October incidentally is my birthday, which is good to see. And yeah, Vipreet Rajyog, so very good. So Vipreet Rajyog is largely happening because we will see that Venus, which is the lord of the 12th, is present in the 8th. So when the 12th lord is present in the 8th house, that gives a Vipreet Rajyog, which means that once you are in a situation of failure, your ability to bounce back is there, and your ability to come back for greatness is also there. Now, oh my god, here he's saying wear moti. No, do not wear moti. I can tell you that for sure. Do not wear moti and do not wear pearl. Now, I'm it's unbelievable this person would give this as a gemstone recommendation. Actually, it's not unbelievable. A lot of people make that assessment. In my view, this is a very malefic moon. You must donate moon and not strengthen it. And you cannot wear yellow sapphire. You cannot wear yellow sapphire because in this chart, I mean, you should know that Jupiter hates Mercury. So if the sign lord is Mercury, you cannot recommend Jupiter as a gemstone for them. So Jupiter hates Mercury, and in your chart, Jupiter is neutral to Mercury. So do not wear the yellow sapphire also. Reciting the Beej mantra of Shani, I would say that wearing Shani gemstone is more auspicious, and reciting the Beej mantra of Moon, Mars, and Mercury is very, very auspicious. So this first letter name, so yeah, here I've given the name of the Acharya. I mean, if it adds to his business, why not? And you can see technical analysis. So this individual has a pretty much the same profile that I'm actually having. It's just that I'm not trained from the US or UK in technical analysis, and have very few gold medals in my life in anything. But other than that, I would think that overall, when I look at this particular chart, I would be very happy to see that the ninth lord is placed in the fourth house, giving me a Raj Yoga. I would be very happy to see that the 7th and the 10th lord is placed in the 5th house, giving me another Raj Yoga. These planets, Jupiter and Saturn, are giving Raj Yogas. The only reason why you can't wear Jupiter is because your ascendant is Mercury, and Jupiter does not like Mercury, so you're better off not wearing Jupiter. But Saturn really loves Mercury, and in your chart it does love Mercury also, and it is in a very good position with both Moon and Sun. So I think Saturn should be strengthened. And yeah, and I'm very confident that once you do these things, you will take necessary steps to realize the full potential, be it success from the stock markets or being it success from practicing medicine or anything else that you do. I hope that through this assessment, a rather lengthy one, I was not thinking it would take that long, but I hope that through this assessment you would see that the flow of thoughts, basically when an astrologer is analyzing a chart, they're sort of ticking several boxes to form an opinion, and then they're articulating their view. There is a lot of subjectivity involved in it, but some things there are no subjectivity involved. In other words, I can guarantee that Moon is an enemy in this chart, is bitter enemy. Mars is not happy at all. Mercury is unhappy, and Saturn is Yog Karak. Actually, Saturn is Raj Yog Karak, and Jupiter is Yog Karak, but in this chart it takes a neutral role. Others are all reasonably well placed. Sun is very, very friendly, but Sun is very powerless in this chart. So that's the problem. Saturn and Sun, who are friends, are kind of powerless, and Moon, who is basically a malefic, is very strong. So I'm very confident that donation of Moon is going to be hugely beneficial. And if the person is indeed wearing the moti or silver, just simply removing it will also add a lot of improvement in your overall day-to-day being. With that, I hope we all have learned something. I wish you all the best.